Hi, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Resilient Professional Podcast. My wife, Tanya, will be joining us in the conversation. She's a longtime educator, homeschool mom, budding entrepreneur. And as an elementary school teacher, if you want to get something done, just talk to an elementary school teacher. They're amazing. So she's going to share a few quick tips around personal organization, and then I'm going to share some strategies drawn from the Resilient Professional ebook. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Welcome to the Resilient Professional Podcast. Professional success really is a game of inches. You have the experience and knowledge, but you realize that professional success is more than just knowledge and experience. It's actually applying what you already know. It's about consistently applying what you know in spite of the challenges that are sure to come your way. You know, Olympians know how to battle adversity and to perform at their best, even in the midst of setbacks and frustrations. I think we can learn a lot from the Olympian mindset. It really is about the cultivation of resiliency. Physical resiliency, emotional resiliency, relational resiliency, cognitive resiliency, resiliency in each aspect of our lives. On a regular basis, we'll unpack these ideas through guest speakers and podcast material that will take you to the next level of professional success. Hi everyone, Sean here. In this edition of the Resilient Professional Podcast, we're going to talk about getting organized. And I have sitting beside me my sweetheart of 30 years, Tanya. Can you say hi to everyone, Tanya?
Hello, everyone.
Now, Tanya has a lot of skills and abilities, a lot of gifts, but one of the most amazing gifts that she has is the ability just to get things organized. And Tanya, when did that special gift or ability start? How old were you when you kind of dawned on you that you were just a great organizer?
Well, I would clean out closets without telling or being told to when I was a kid, and my sister would pay me to clean up her room. So I learned very young that it was something I really enjoyed doing that other people valued.
That's just really weird, honey. But you got off to a really great start and a young start, so obviously you've learned a lot over the
I
years.
helped you as a teenager clean up your room too, if
And
you
for
remember.
that, I'm very thankful.
So
Now,
your dad would let you go out with me and later in the evening.
was that the time in which you had that fascination with Donny Osmond?
No, that was long after that.
Okay, but is it true that you actually kissed his poster on a daily basis?
That has nothing to do with cleaning and organizing.
Tanya's got an amazing story. In fact, when I first started dating Tanya, we were at university, and of course, when we were assigned term reports and assignments, I'd usually get started on mine about a day before they were due. My great wife would usually have them done about a month to 2 months before the due date. So that's the kind of lady we're hearing from. So Tanya, if you had to give one tip to our listeners about how to organize their week so that they can get just maximum productivity, what would be one tip you could share with us tonight?
I would say only touch one thing once. So take it from where it needs to be used, use it, and put it back to where it's supposed to be.
That's a great tip, and I can attest to the fact that Tanya actually adheres to that rule. In fact, in our house, be sure you don't let things lie around countertops and desks, because eventually you'll come to that pile one day looking for a specific piece of paper, and whew, it's gone. It's vanished. It just somehow found its way in the recycling drawer or bin or garbage container. So Tanya, another question for you. When it comes to your closet, you have a really organized closet, and I think one of the things that just a lot of people feel bad about is, you walk into somebody's home and it looks so organized, but if you looked inside the closets of some people, oh, it's crazy. So how do you keep your closet so organized?
Well, it's very simple. This would be my tip number 2, is you put like things together. So that you can either group them according to their function or their color. So you can either put all your pants together, or you can put all your clothes together that are brown and blue and green and yellow. So however you choose to organize, you pick one of those two and then just stick with it.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly what I do with my closet. Right, honey?
No, that's what I do with your closet.
Okay, well, that concludes some tips from Tanya. She's going to be back in future podcasts sharing some of her expertise around organizational skills. And I tell you, she's an elementary school teacher, got her master's degree in education. She was an administrator, came home for the schooling of her kids. She's raised and basically homeschooled 4 of her children. So if you want anything to get done in life, just ask an elementary school teacher to get it done, and it's amazing what they can do. So Tanya's got a lot of experiences, and is a great resource in terms of organizational skills. So she'll be back. Now, what I'd like to do is share a few tips from the Resilient Professional ebook. If you want more information generally about professional resiliency, be sure to take a look at the ebook. It's on our website at www.takechargeofchange.com. But what I want to do now is just share some quick tips around some organizational ideas that you can apply on a daily basis to be more effective professionally, but also personally. Okay, let's take a look at a few other strategies to kind of round out some of Tanya's great practical advice. So the first thing, and by the way, most of these points I think you probably heard before, so it's not so much are these new or novel, it's more about are you actually applying them on a consistent basis. And quite frankly, people will meander through their day to the extent that they don't have some really important objectives. If you can get along with just cruising through your day and you're not really measured by the objectives that you accomplish, then okay, I guess you don't have to be focused in this area. But I'm assuming that you've got some really important priorities, that you're time crunched, you're resource crunched at times, and you really have to be effective with your time. So the first thing I would say is an effective day starts the night before. It's a great productivity tool. Sit down for a few minutes the night before and just write down, 3 or 4 most important tasks or things that you have to get accomplished. Through the night, your subconscious mind will work on those objectives, and you'll just be subconsciously more attuned, more attentive to the things you need to get done. So that's the first objective, first idea. Write down those key tasks the night before and let your mind percolate on those ideas through the night. The second thing is practice the principle of oscillation. So come to understand sort of times in the day when you are most productive, where you're most cognitively keen, and put your high value, harder cognitive tasks into your calendar at those peak times. For most of us, that's first thing in the morning. And so you want to make sure you schedule your calendar around those kinds of activities when you have the most energy and you're most effective. Take those low priority tasks that may not require as much cognitive skills and abilities and energy, and put those maybe at times in the day that you don't have to be quite as effective. You might be going through your inbox, your emails, going through your files, sorting, organizing, that kind of thing. So be very attentive to that. Practice the principle of oscillation. Know when your energy is good, when it dissipates. The other thing is that when you're focused on an activity, part of oscillation means put a good half hour, 45 minutes into an activity, then take a bit of a break. Decompress, let your mind relax a bit. And when you have that rest period, it might be just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then you come back to your work and you'll be renewed and you'll be able to focus your efforts more effectively by doing that. The next step point is a cluttered mind or workplace are kind of synonymous. And so if you want to be effective in your planning and your accomplishment through the day, try to make sure you work in a clean workspace. Make sure things are filed away, that there aren't too many distractions in front of you, to the extent that you're working on one thing at a time, which is a great productivity tip, and don't have a whole bunch of clutter around you. You'll be just a little bit more effective. Another idea is to keep score through the day. And really what I'm talking about there is, get that to-do list down or your key action steps on your pad of paper or your iPhone or wherever you have it. Keep it in front of you, and throughout the day, compare your actual against what your plan was. A lot of times people just lose track of that. They get into their day, and before they know it, they're halfway or 3/4 of the way through the day, and they haven't accomplished the key objectives that they wanted to get done. So keep score through the day. Look at your to-do list on a regular basis. Cross off what you've done, and then get to the next task. But you have to be attentive to that. You can't sort of slough it off and then, later on work, on that to-do list. Keep it in front of you. Make sure you're aware so you can be productive and focused through the whole day. One of the best books that I've read on the topic of personal and professional organizational skills was by David Allen, called Getting Things Done. It's a very practical book, but there's a very sort of pithy philosophical basis to all of his ideas. He was a management consultant for many, many years. And over his years of working with clients, he came up with this system for personal organization. And I think it's a particularly relevant system in this age of digital information that's flying at us all the time. Anyway, one of the tips, and actually we'll talk about David Allen's system in more detail in a future podcast, but one of the tips that I thought was a really, really good one. It's one of the first stages in his organizational system is to do what he calls a mind dump. And that's every once in a while, take out a piece of paper or some recording device on your computer, your Word document, whatever, and just do a free flow dumping of all the things that come to mind. And sometimes you'll start that process and you'll have a no end of to-dos and things lurking in the background. And those things, if you don't capture them and collect them, can really drain your psychic energy. In other words, they're humming in the background, your mind is worrying about whether you're attending to them, and it does erode your personal productivity through the week. So do the personal mind dump, spend some time jotting down all the things that come to mind, all those loose to-dos that your mind's holding on to. Now, the beauty of his system is he talks about how you can collect that data and then put it in placeholders so that it's easily retrievable. One of his basic principles is, because we have very poor filing cabinets, placeholders, areas to organize our information in our next actions and our to-dos, we tend to try to hold on to it in our brains, which is not very efficient or effective given all the information that comes at us on a regular basis. And because we try to hold it in our brains, and because our brain's smart enough to know that we don't actually do a very good job at that, it creates this low-grade psychic drain, this kind of worrying, this anxiety that what are we missing? What should I be doing that I'm not aware of? It's not cataloged someplace. So again, part of that process is a mind dump. It's amazing, even if you get started slowly and you're having trouble come up with things, just keep at it. And before you know it, the dam can burst, and all of a sudden there's a gazillion things that come to mind: projects, ideas, to-dos, commitments. Make sure you do that fairly regularly, even once a week. Just sit down and do a free-form listing of all those to-dos. Okay, we've talked about a whole bunch of little strategies. I hope it's helpful. What I'd recommend you do is spend a few minutes just really looking at your own planning in this area and see if you can integrate one of these ideas consistently if you're not already doing that. And then the last tip is make sure, and this comes from Dan Sullivan with the Strategic Coach, I think it's a great idea, at the end of each day, as part of your planning for the next day, also spend a few minutes just jotting down those accomplishments, those things you felt good about. What did you actually accomplish through the day? And write it down. There is so much negative stuff that comes at us on a regular basis that it can erode confidence. And I think Dan Sullivan's idea of protecting your confidence, and one way to do that is write down 3 or 5 things that happened through the day that you thought were achievements, you felt good about. It counterbalances all the negative self-talk and negative energy that tends to swirl around us through the day. So make sure you take some time to do that on a regular basis. Well, I hope you enjoyed the tips that we covered off in this edition of the Resilient Professional Podcast. We're recording this podcast early in the year. My question to you is, how are your New Year's resolutions going? How's the old goal setting going for this brand new year? If it's not going all that great for you, I'd really recommend that you check out the Resilient Professional ebook. It's 15 chapters of great content, and there's some very focused, very specific, action-oriented chapters dealing with goal setting, reviewing your purpose, your mission statement, your vision for the year, and some very practical action steps to begin accomplishing your goals. So be sure to take a look at the Resilient Professional ebook, and as well, please feel free to poke around the website, look at past podcasts and some of the materials that we have in the Learning Center. All the best in your efforts to be a resilient professional.